Adult education will no longer be the same. As of May 3rd, 2024, the GED will no longer be available in Canada. However, a new system will be in place for those looking to further their education. If someone doesn't have a high school diploma, it could be for various reasons. Regardless of the reason, programs like Open Doors Adult Literacy help individuals develop the skills to take on the next steps of their education. In this episode of U Talk, let's find out what people can expect of adult education in the coming months, and how increased funding can make a world of a difference. Let's get into it.
My name is Margaret Benaziac. I taught junior and senior high for a number of years in St. James, Assiniboia. When I had my children, I took maternity leave, got into adult education after that in the evenings and then during the days, and just have been continuing with that. We had a program starting up in the North End by parents in the school, King Edward School, in 1990. And so I've been with adult literacy since 1990, which is 30-some years.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm the program director and also teaching in one of the programs. The North End Adult Literacy Programs has 3 sites in the North End. One is off Dufferin, one is on Selkirk Avenue, and the other one is up by Garden City area. And we do basic literacy, upgrading, what's known as GED prep right now, but that will be changing. So that's who I am. Mm-hmm. And then we have Jen. I'll let her introduce herself.
So I've been working as an EA since 2019. And then this is my first year as an instructor in the evening program, where we do have the majority of the newcomers there. So yeah, that's it.
It's nice to meet both of you. For people who are wondering, what is kind of adult education, adult literacy? What are we looking at here when we're talking about these things?
We actually have 2 facets. You have adult literacy programming, which means people are coming in to upgrade their skills enough to transition into adult learning or adult literacy centers. The centers are the locations that can give credits for grades 9 to 12. We don't give credits. Instead, we go by the stages levels, stage 1, 2, 3. And we work with people to try and help them get up to a level where they can go on and get credits after if they'd like to do that. We also do what's called GED preparation right now. Mm-hmm. That will be ending in May. And so after that, the Canadian Basic Education Certificate is what will be replacing it. It'll be Canadian content. The GED right now is an American program, even though we do have Canadian content in it, but it's run through the United States, and they're no longer going to be providing it in Canada. So we've developed in Alberta for the most part, with a program that people can take. If they've written their GED in the last 3 years but have not passed all of their subjects, they will be able to continue with the Canadian version and still get their diploma at the end of it, the mature student diploma. So that's what we provide.
Yeah, so the work that you're doing is helping provide people with the skills and knowledge that they need to transition to these centers where they can get these credits.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We call ourselves the link because without us, a lot of people would not be able to continue on in their educational journeys or even start getting credit courses.
Walk me through what sort of things you offer and what does that look like for someone coming into the doors. There's someone who's like, maybe my skills aren't that developed yet and they're wanting to take those next steps. So what sort of things are they learning there?
The first thing we do once people have contacted us, we set up an appointment for them to come in. And we do kind of an intake form just to learn a little bit about the person. And then also we do a very informal assessment with an assessment tool that Adult Learning and Literacy, who is our basic funder, government, has used as kind of a standardized testing situation for people coming in. So we give them the assessment in reading, writing, and numeracy just to see where their skills are when they're first starting off. It's for us, not for them. So we try to make them not too nervous when they're coming in, comfortable and so on. And it gives us an idea as to where their strengths and weaknesses are. And then we can help them out to strengthen the weaknesses, take the strengths, even further. And so they work in the classroom. We have different times depending on which site program they decide to attend, and help them out as best we can to reach whatever goal they need to be able to transition later on.
Jen, you're working with a lot of these people coming in, starting off as an EA and now as an instructor in those evening programs. And you mentioned working with a lot of newcomers who are coming in. What is it like in the classroom, starting as an EA to an instructor now? What are the differences, and what are sort of things that you're interacting with people who are coming in?
A lot of the newer people, they can kind of understand what you're saying more, but maybe can't communicate as well. Or if you give them, an assignment on a piece of paper, they can read perfectly fine. Like, their literacy is there. They know how to string letters together to make words. But then it's just the comprehension, the understanding, what they've read, and being able to kind of tell you back like what they just learned from what they read, or answer questions about what they read. Going from an EA to an instructor now, I'm kind of finding myself more jumping from person to person to person, trying to help them out, and just make sure everybody's got what they need, because everything's individualized. Everybody works at their own pace, doing their own materials. So just trying to keep up with what everyone is doing and how they're doing, and making sure, when they've completed that they have something else that they can go on to. So
it's self-directed learning then, with a teacher or instructor in place to help them through that process.
Yeah.
And you're mentioning before, different skills and things when entering these. For someone who is new to Canada, or someone who's lived here their whole life and is interested in taking those next steps, maybe they want to finish their high school, what sort of things should they be thinking about, or skills they should be developing before they even step through your doors or call you for those early meetings?
Well, they have to be able to understand directions, for one thing, before they actually come into the program. But we take people at a very low level, if they're not newcomers coming in and don't have any language development at all in English. But people that have been living in Canada for a long time, we take them at a low level. They would be stage 1. And then we try to develop their skills at the stage 1 level. We have a certain curriculum we follow, but it's completely individualized. So if they have certain interests, we try to gear whatever they're doing in reading and writing and so on to things they might be interested themselves, and also resources that would work the best for them. So yeah, it's student active development, I guess, is what we use. But people don't have to be afraid if they can't read and write very well. They can call us. We'll have them come in, sit down with them. If they're not able to do the assessments that we have, then what we do is find out exactly how we could help them and set up a program that way for them.
So it's meeting people where they're at and helping develop those skills.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
So you mentioned stage 1. What does that all entail? What is that exactly? And what are the different stages that we're looking at?
Stage 1 would be about grade 1 to 3 if you were in the public school system. Stage 2 is about grades 4 to 6, and stage 3 would be about grade 7 to 9. And then after that, if they've done the work, improved their skills and stuff, after that they would be able to probably enter and take grade 10 credits.
So of course, every person is going to be different in their process, but just on kind of an average level, what sort of timeline are we looking at from someone coming in and then taking those next steps to get those credits? What is kind of the average timeline that we're looking at?
That's kind of a difficult, I don't know if there's really a good answer for that.
No.
Yeah.
The adults that we have coming in, they're adults. They have lives outside. They have a lot of barriers that they have to jump over to even come in to begin with. And then they have a lot of barriers that come up. So quite often we'll have people that start and then they stop for a while because things at home have to be taken care of.
Yeah, life is
And then they
unpredictable.
come back. Yeah. And we welcome them back. We say, you know, if you have to leave, leave for a bit, but come back. And they do. So we've had people that have gone through here in a few months because their skills were that high, they could go and write their GED exams. We've had people in here for maybe 3 or 4 years, but not on a steady basis. And we don't run the program 12 months of the year for the most part either. So, and they may be only coming in the afternoons, or they may only be coming in the evening. So it's hard to say how long people will stay in a program.
Yeah, so there's a lot of variables.
We also have some like seniors, some people who are like collecting their old age pensions who still come, you know, and they're not gonna go and get their GED or anything. They just come to raise their skills. So they're not really looking to make that next step.
No, but it may allow them to handle their own business affairs at home properly, or it may allow them to get the confidence they need to go out and do volunteering in the community.
Yeah.
So we work with that too. We also do some employability. Right now, what's come up that's been very severe is mental health wellness. So at one of the sites, we're offering a Monday class. Half of the day is mental health wellness strategy, opening, that kind of thing. And the other half of the day is on employability readiness. So we've got other things, not just the academics are involved.
Yeah, so you've got a wide array of programs. And I do really like your approach that it's not just, these are the set times. If you don't finish in there, you're out, sort of thing. You're meeting people where they're at and allowing them the flexibility, because as you're mentioning, life is unpredictable. You're not sure what's going to be happening tomorrow, especially if you're living paycheck to paycheck. As a newcomer coming here, you're trying to develop your skills, and sometimes you have to take any opportunity you can or whenever it's available.
That's right. And a lot of the learners that we have coming in are on EIA. They have pressures from sometimes the workers to do it in this time frame. And so I've had discussions quite often with some of the EIA workers advocating for them and letting them know, it doesn't work that way. The adults coming in have had maybe terrible experiences in school. We've had some residential school survivors coming through. Other people just didn't like school, so they dropped out, but now they see, I got to go back now. They may be in their 20s or 30s. We've even had some people 19 years old that didn't do well in the academics in school, but they want to try. They know, they see the future is not going to be very good unless they do something. So they'll come and register too. So we have a whole gamut of ages and people with different backgrounds and that kind of thing.
When we're looking at adult education and adult literacy and developing it and changing it, and I know the program's going to be changing pretty soon, come up in May. But what are some other things we can do changing, whether it's on a policy level here in Manitoba or just a societal level as a whole? How do we continue to remove those barriers, as you mentioned, for people so that they can have more opportunity and greater successes when looking to develop these skills and find success in education?
Part of it would be long-term funding. Because if we have long-term funding and increased salary levels, because literacy instructors, EAs, and so on are not paid the same as Winnipeg School Division employees, which would include the adult learning centers. The centers pay their teachers a normal wage that a teacher would be making in the school division. In literacy, it's not like that. The salary is determined by the board, but we only get so much funding. So the salaries are quite a bit lower than they should be. I'm a certified teacher and I'm making way less than a teacher, in the centers are, but that was my choice. But it would be nice to pay EAs more and hire more EAs so that we could provide more one-on-one attention. And that would maybe relieve the barriers that some of these people are going through. They need the one-on-one. Yeah. Sometimes they just need a little bit of a discussion before academics begin. But because we don't have that many EAs in the classroom, we can't provide that as much as we would like to. So that would be one part of it. The other part too is maybe to allow expansion of the number of literacy programs that are being offered in different parts of the city. I know sometimes we have people traveling from St. James here to do the GED because we are one of the locations that they can take it at. But not all places throughout the city that are offering literacy offer GED prep. So those
Okay.
kinds of things, I would think. What about you, Jen?
Yeah, I was saying the funding is a big one because especially when you're thinking of newcomers coming in, like we can't take everyone because they would need someone to sit with them basically all the time. Otherwise, they're wasting half of their time coming to class because they can't do anything basically on their own. Like they could sit there and look through a dictionary, but they could do that at home, right?
Yeah, that's not the type of learning that they're looking for.
Exactly. And so unfortunately, we can't really take those types of learners because we just don't have the resources to help them. And there's nowhere for them to go, though. They're on waiting lists to get, into these RBC classes and things like that. And RBC, Red River College, not RBC. the Red River Polytech classes that, it's great that they're offering the classes, but the wait lists are very long for them. So basically they have nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
They have nowhere to go.
Yeah, the constant struggle for funding for a lot of these initiatives. Yeah, that's the struggle, seeing like how important these things are on a base level to help uplift people, but there's never enough resources to go between all of those. So yeah, I see the importance of shifting perception publicly about like, hey, these instructors and EAs are just as important as other teachers, and we need to be funding them in order for newcomers, those who haven't been able to achieve higher education or get their college or high school diplomas, and give them a fighting chance.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate the funding we do get from the government.
Oh, of course.
Without that, we wouldn't be around at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, we look for other grants besides the grant we get from Adult Learning and Literacy to be able to do special projects. One of the things we did was for Truth and Reconciliation, because a lot of our learners are Indigenous.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them aren't. We did something on the history of dream catchers last year.
Wow, nice.
And they learned the history of it, the true meaning of them. And then we had somebody come in and actually demonstrate how to make one. Each person in the class got to make one. Part of the cultural attachment to it is that once you've made a dream catcher, you give it to a special person in your life or somebody you know. And that carries on the cultural background, that it used to have. They've gotten very commercial, but we got away from the commercial part. The people all enjoyed it, whether they were Indigenous or not. They were right into it and got to do things like that. But I had to get a different grant to be able to do that because we just didn't have enough in our normal budget. So things like that, you have to look around for different grants to be able to do different things.
It is good that, you do have the funding that you have and the opportunities, but it'd be nice to see things go a little further.
Yeah. But I'm sure Adult Learning and Literacy would love to give us more money too if they had it.
Of course.
That's got to come from the provincial government higher up than they are.
Let's see what WAB can do for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's about those conversations, and I think it's important that we're having them now. Like, not a lot of people are talking about like if someone hasn't achieved their high school diploma, or they're maybe struggling. People aren't talking about, oh yeah, there's these programs here available. It's usually just something that's just like, whatever sort of thing. So I'm glad we're having a conversation now. And I guess just for the GED moving forward, you touched on it a little bit, but you have any idea of what it's going to be looking like? You're talking about there's some connection with Alberta that they're working on a program.
Well, we have a stakeholders meeting on March 21st for instructors and teachers and EAs in the program, and we will be learning at that point exactly what's going to be involved in it. It'll still be the 5 subjects that the GED has as well, but there's going to be more Canadian content in it, more Indigenous and multicultural type information that people will be studying and then writing the exams about. So yeah, it's going to be pretty much the same type of setup, but different content based on Canada.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what that looks like once it's all finished. So I'm excited to hear, how it's going to change and how it's going to affect people when they're learning.
And the fact that Adult Learning and Literacy is going to allow People who have written the GED but didn't quite finish, maybe 2 subjects where they weren't able to get through it, that they still have the chance to do that and write. So they're not just cutting them off and saying, GED's finished, that's it, too bad for you, you didn't write all 5 and didn't pass all. No, they're being kind and letting people, carry that over. That's important too.
Well, I mean, when people who are struggling or had those barriers succeed, we all succeed as a society.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So for people who are interested about adult literacy, adult education, or just having these conversations, what do you think is an important thing they should be thinking about? Learners and then just people in general, as we're trying to shift that conversation and bring more awareness around here.
I think for learners, just the fact that they should consider making that big step and calling if they know that there are programs around about, because they would be welcomed in and feel good about themselves. So it raises self-confidence, self-esteem, which is a ripple effect throughout their families as well, because they're good role models for their children when they're coming back to school. So the children see, oh, education must be important. I better go, go to school. So that kind of thing. And then I've had people who have come into the program, they work already, they're employed, but they want to get a promotion. And their reading and writing skills are not high enough to allow them to take the promotion to do reports and so on. They come in and they're not necessarily doing GED or anything else because they don't need to. They've already got a grade 12, but at their job that they've been working at for many years, they weren't reading and writing as much as they should have. They've come in and they've completed reading and writing, upgrading, and then gone on and gotten their promotions in their jobs.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, different realms of people, that do things like that. So if you're basic and your reading and writing is very weak, this is your chance. Literacy programming, look it up, make the call. I've had people try to come into the building 4 or 5 times, going back and forth, and they finally, if you go to the door and say, come on in or whatever, they'll come through that door and then they never look back. So it's an opportunity, and it would be good if people could just get up the courage to come in and do it.
If people are wanting to make that call or find out more information about your services, where can they go?
Well, they can just call me whenever they'd like to. I use my cell phone number for the program, and I give the cell phone number out. It's printed on our brochures. There's also going to be, now it's in April, and there's going to be a big meeting of agencies and that kind of thing at Turtle Island Family Center. And they're going to be giving out a lot of information to different agencies. We're going to have a booth set up there. So we'll be making sure that we get, things out and about. Also, in August, there is something called Picnic in the Park, St. John's Park. Agencies can come, set up tables. We've been there every year now for the past 8 or 9 years. And people, if they just want to come, they can have a hot dog or whatever. There's tons of agencies there that set up so that you can find out what resources are available in the North End area.
Amazing.
And that's in August, and it's at St. John's Park, right on Main Street there. It's a fun location for kids. They have things set up for the children, and adults can go around, and they have music set up and dancing and a whole bit. So that's a big thing, that people could find out about.
It's not just a place for people to find what's available. It's also a chance to build community.
Yes. It's a community building situation for sure.
Also, I think if you go to the adult learning and literacy government website, they do have a breakdown of all of the programs with phone numbers and stuff too. So
yeah, so if somebody lives in other parts of the city, not just the North End, but then they want to take advantage of programming, they can find out where a program might be closer to them.
Margaret, Jen, thank you so much for taking this time to chat with me, and hopefully we can continue to improve awareness around adult education.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And we're passionate about it. So.
Have any stories you'd like us to share, or communities we should highlight? Leave a comment on our social media or reach out to us on our website. I'm Ryan Funk. This was Zoo Talk, and have yourself a good one.